Welcome to a special edition of City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. The Durham Police Department has been in the news a lot lately. Joining me to talk about some recent crime trends as well as some recent allegations against the police department is Chief Jose Lopez. Welcome, Chief, and thank you so much for joining me. So, Chief, let's get started by talking about crime trends. What do you attribute since 2007 to the lowering of crime in Durham?
Well, since 2007, crime's been going down. As a matter of fact, prior to my arrival, crime has been trending down in the city of Durham. It's interesting how many would say that it's a national phenomena, but the reality is that most police departments throughout the nation use best practices. And in using best practices, we're doing the best we can with the resources we have in order to bring crime down. In this city, I think it's very important to note that with the crime coming down, what's been going up has been community participation. It's been better trust with the police department, better interaction with the police. Everything that we do here in the city of Durham, as far as the police department is concerned, has a component that is community-based, and whether that community-based would be getting information from the community, giving information to the community, or having advocacy through the community, we're able to bring crime down. So I think that's the important factor, and I think that's what sets the city of Durham apart from many of the other national agencies whose cities have crime trending down also.
So this is something you've worked really hard at, because I know a few years ago you used to always have to talk to the community and say, help us, we're here to work with you. So you see it working now.
Well, I see it working. I believe that we've allowed the community to see us for who we are. We're a lot more transparent, and we interact a whole lot more. Like I said, everything we do has a piece of community. Without the community, we're not going to be able to be as successful as we have been. Also, I have a police department that truly cares about this community, and I think that many of the things that they were doing before weren't being seen by the community, but now we're focusing on that. We do that through our commendation ceremonies, we do that through our Facebook, we do that through many other channels. We're also working closely with the media also, making sure that they are aware of the good things that we're doing so that they can be represented there.
Chief, the Durham Police Department is an internationally accredited law enforcement agency, and I understand you recently underwent a reaccreditation process. What was the result of that process?
Well, we underwent a reaccreditation through CityLife, as we've been doing for quite a few years, to be an accredited police department. The difference is that now we're being recommended for the gold standard, which is a higher level of accreditation with the CityLife. Recently we had them visit us and do an on-site review, and they met with people in the community and got a lot of positive reflections from the community as far as the relationship and the work we do. They also were able to see the vast amount of different operations, programs, things that we do within the police department that are really not known to a whole lot of other people outside of the law enforcement arena. And not only are we getting the gold standard, but we also are in the process of accrediting our forensic science division. And hopefully by the end of the year, they'll also be an accredited division of the police department. So we're continuing to be recognized and meet the best standards that exist internationally.
Okay. But as a part of the process, you got a lot of community input again.
Yes, we have. We've gotten a lot of community. As a matter of fact, we had our open house. The community came in and spoke very positive about what was been going on with the police department. At the same point in time, we've been able to identify all the different programs that are existing within the police department and how they interact with each other in order to bring crime down. The CityLife has asked us to use our report as a model for other police departments as far as what they need to do and the practices that they need to be doing in order to advance their organization.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Chief, let's move on to some recent allegations. It's been covered extensively in the news, as I know you know. The EEOC complaint filed against you by one of your assistant chiefs. I know you can't talk about it too specifically since it's an active EEO investigation, but what can you say regarding the overall accusation of discrimination and retaliation in the department?
Well, first of all the allegations that are being made in the EEOC complaint were made back in February during a HR complaint that was filed by the same person. Mm-hmm. That was thoroughly investigated by an independent consultant that the city hired. And their investigation showed that none of it was sustained. As far as the allegations of discrimination, it's disheartening to hear that, especially someone like myself. I'm chief of police for the 4th largest city in North Carolina, yet I'm Puerto Rican and I originate from Brownsville, Brooklyn, which is more of an urban area than this will ever be. Mm-hmm. And for anyone to think that I got to my position here and it was handed to me are really off course, because the reality is that I had to struggle a lot just to get here. Mm-hmm. And have to fight through a lot of discrimination. So I know firsthand what that looks like, what that feels like. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to do it to anyone else. At the same point in time, I think my record shows that I have advanced people of color to a very high extent. I don't promote people because of their race, but I do give opportunity. I give opportunity to all the employees that I have to advance themselves. Mm-hmm. And they get promoted on an even and balanced scale so that they each have an opportunity to come up. Now, it's easy to see how in my organization here with the Durham Police Department, our command staff, upper command staff, is very well balanced between people of color and whites. Mm-hmm. We also can see that our patrol command, our district command, has an abundance of people of color who are in command. If you look at the last promotional series that we had for lieutenants, mm-hmm. you'd find that the first person promoted was a white male. The next 4 were African American. The next 3 were females, 2 of which were African American. Mm-hmm. So yes, diversity is something that I pride myself in. So the claim of discrimination comes in a very disheartening way, because it's someone who knows that I don't discriminate. They know that that's not happening and that I wouldn't discriminate against others.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Chief. I know you said you feel your command staff is very diverse. I mean, what is the breakdown actually?
At this point in time, I have 3 African American mm-hmm. Males in my upper command staff, and I have 3 white males in my upper command staff, to include the complainant, and then myself, who in all this has forgotten that I'm also of color. Mm-hmm. And I also have my captains range from my districts. I have 4 African American captains at my districts, mm-hmm. 1 white, and I also have 3 African American lieutenants, assistant commanders, 2 white, and of the 2 white, I have a female. Mm-hmm. And of the 4 African Americans that I have in my district captains, 2 are females. So it's not just race, mm-hmm. it's also gender, right. also cultures, mm-hmm. and we're really moving a lot stronger mm-hmm. in order to bring them on to the police department.
So suffice it to say, you feel like your command staff and indeed your department is pretty reflective of the community.
Well, it's reflective of the community, but it's also competent. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important, that when you put people in a role that you bring in competent diversity, mm-hmm. individuals who can do the job. And the way you do that is by preparing them, which is what I believe I've been doing for the last 6 years that I've been here with the City of Durham, mm-hmm. is preparing individuals. And I think that the fruit of that preparation is seen in the diversity of our command. And when I say command, these are the individuals who make the decisions for the organization that impact our community.
Mm-hmm. Now, Chief, I know you want to put a period on this part, and you even had a press conference about this specific allegation that is part of the very broad-ranging EEOC complaint. But there's been a lot of talk about the statement that was alleged to have been made regarding the public defender and the wording of it and the wording of your apology. What do you have to say about that?
Well, what I would have to say about that is, first of all, the actual words that have been said, that were said, we never discussed or said anything about anyone, that it was good that anyone got shot. That never happened. Mm-hmm. If there was any speech to it, it may have been something relative to the innocence of victims, but that would have been it. It would have been something said in jest in a private meeting that was occurring. So I really wish that that they had also reported the rest, or that meeting was recorded, because that meeting would have reflected the fact that I made it clear that that this attorney was an innocent victim, that this attorney was not the target of any of the individuals who were doing the shooting and had nothing to do with the event. It was totally innocent. It never should have happened to him, and that we were going to be investigating it vigorously. That someone would take such comments and twist them around, that's also disheartening, especially when you're sitting down and speaking to at a private meeting, a meeting of which, when the jest was said, everyone laughed. So, I mean, and I'm certain that there are many other things said in jest throughout the meetings all over this country today that don't come out.
So I guess
to be this.
a lot of people want to know, why did you apologize?
I apologize for the fact that that this had occurred, that something was said in jest that actually did disturb this community, and I felt very bad about that. And I take responsibility. Now that I personally said it, I go through so many meetings, say so many things, that that I don't recall whether I may have made a comment relative to it. I know a comment was made, whether it was by me or someone else, but the fact of the matter is that the comment was not to the extent, that definitely was not to the extent that it was recorded, and it was meant in jest, and it was never meant to be a public comment that would harm the public. Because if we knew that that was going to become public, we would have spoken differently than when you speak in private.
Okay. Well, Chief, a lot of people are probably wondering, how is the command staff like or how is it to work in the command staff now, after such an allegation? It must be pretty tense.
Well, fortunately, I have an extremely professional command staff. They're very professional individuals who understand the importance that they do. They understand the importance of the morale in the organization, and they work together. What the public is not aware of is that we pretty much have been going through this since April. There was quite a few months that the public was not aware, could not tell, did not know that this was occurring. And the only reason for that was because of the professional manner in which we conduct ourselves in that organization. So my hat's off to all of our command members who are there working through this, to include the individual who filed the complaint, who was still working in a professional manner with us there. So, I have to really respect them all for it.
From the comments that are in the newspaper as well as other places, it seems that the public has a lot of respect for the police department as well. I mean, some pretty supportive comments have been out there.
Well, the comments and the reflections that I get from the community are extremely positive at all times. They, of course, share their thoughts on the complaint, but the reality is that it's more important how they feel and trust this organization. I think that's the important part. And of course, we have some individuals who are protesting and marching, but if you look at Durham's history, you'll find that those are the same individuals that have protested and marched. And many of them are doing so without having any or all of the facts involved. Many just don't have the patience to wait till these things are resolved. There are investigations that are going on there. It's not being thrown by the wayside. People are looking into this and looking into it seriously. It's just a shame that such a private matter for the organization has to be done in such a public forum and in a public way, because a lot of people, quite frankly, don't understand and they don't get the facts. And I'm unable to speak to a lot of the facts.
Okay. Well, Chief, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave for our viewers about the police department?
I have to say that the organization is moving forward. It has not missed a step. In spite of everything that's been going on in that organization, we're still out there bringing the numbers down as far as crime, making it safer, identifying locations that we need to bring attention to. At the same point in time, we're putting together a lot of events, a lot of participation with the community, and we're bringing that forward. Also, I'm glad that the officers are inventive enough to come up with a lot of different operations and programs that are pretty much a first throughout the country. It's amazing to see how They work with the crime trends as they occur through robberies and through burglaries in order to bring a stop to them. Also, the efforts that they give towards mental health in this community far outdoes many other police departments, to the extent that the Durham Police Department will be presenting at the International Crisis Intervention Conference in Hartford, Connecticut in October. So I think with that, I think with our CALEA accreditation, because we're moving into the gold standard, and we're going to be recommended for the gold standard in CALEA, and I think that that reflects not a whole lot of police departments have the gold standard. More of them are just the basic accreditation. We've gone above and beyond as far as that's concerned. So I'm very proud of this organization. I'm very proud of this city, and I do want to thank our community for collaborating with us, standing with us, participating. I want to thank those that are volunteering, working through the PACs, working through our Observer Patrol. Also, right now we've got a community police academy that's going with citizens who are interested in learning exactly what it is we do and how we do it. So the police department here and the community are one, and I think that that's the only way that we're going to be able to move forward. And the whole world, I think, to some extent, is looking at us because we're really, truly succeeding in that vein.
Okay, Chief. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Well, I appreciate being able to at least speak to some of these cases that ordinarily I wouldn't be able to speak to.
That does it for this special edition of City Life. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can also find us on demand on DTV8's website and on YouTube. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me.